The sun beat down on Falcon Ridge Military Base as soldiers gathered on the training ground, buzzing with excitement. Today wasn't a normal drill day. Hollywood icon and martial arts master Steven Seagal was visiting to demonstrate real close combat techniques. Many had grown up watching his movies. Others doubted how much of his skill was real. Either way, the base hadn't been this loud in months. Seagal stepped onto the mat in his usual calm, measured way, black outfit, steady eyes, hands relaxed at his sides. His energy alone made several soldiers straighten their backs. But among the crowd stood one man who wasn't impressed, General Marcus Branson, a decorated officer known for his iron discipline and zero tolerance for celebrity theatrics. Branson walked toward Seagal with slow, heavy steps, arms crossed, eyes cold. "So you're the man who thinks movies count as combat?" he said loudly, making sure every soldier heard. A few soldiers exchanged nervous glances. Seagal simply bowed his head respectfully. "I'm just here to share what I know, sir," Seagal replied calmly. The general scoffed. "We'll see about that." Without warning, Branson stepped forward, grabbing Seagal hard by the hair, yanking his head slightly back. Gasps tore through the formation. Several soldiers took a step forward instinctively, but Seagal raised a hand gently, signaling them to stay where they were. He didn't flinch. He didn't react. He didn't even blink. Branson tightened his grip, trying to intimidate him in front of the entire base. "What's the matter? No stunt double to save you now?" The soldiers watched in stunned silence. Some recorded. Some held their breath. No one could believe what they were seeing. A general disrespecting a guest, and that guest being Steven Seagal of all people. But Seagal's face remained unreadable. His body stayed perfectly relaxed, as if the general's hand was nothing more than a breeze brushing past him. He slowly turned his eyes toward the soldiers watching, then back to the general and spoke in a low, steady tone. "Sir, I suggest you let go." Something in his voice sent a chill down the entire formation. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was something far more dangerous. Control. And at that moment, nobody on the base knew they were seconds away from witnessing something that would be talked about for years. Because what Steven Seagal did next shocked the entire base. For a moment, the entire base stood frozen. You could have heard a pin drop on the concrete. General Branson still had his fist tangled in Steven Seagal's hair, breathing heavily, jaw clenched, eyes filled with a strange mix of pride and challenge. It was as if he wanted to prove something, not just to Seagal, but to the hundreds of soldiers watching him. Seagal, however, remained as still as a statue. The general yanked harder this time, dragging Seagal half a step forward. Several young soldiers flinched as if they felt the pull themselves. A few whispered urgently, "Sir, he shouldn't be doing that. That's Steven Seagal." What is the general thinking? He's gonna get himself killed. But Seagal didn't move. Not a twitch. His breathing didn't change. His eyes didn't waver. It was almost unnatural how calm he stayed, like a deep lake with no ripples on the surface. The general laughed sharply, frustrated that Seagal refused to react. "Oh, come on," Branson growled. "Where's the tough guy now? Where's the action hero?" He leaned closer, sneering into Seagal's face. "Are you telling me all your fancy moves only work on screen?" Seagal's lips barely parted. "Sir, this isn't necessary." Branson scoffed again, louder this time, making sure the soldiers heard him. "You see that?" he shouted, turning toward the audience. "This is what happens when Hollywood walks into a real military base." Soldiers exchanged uneasy looks. Some nodded in sympathy toward Seagal. Others shook their heads in disbelief at the general's behavior. A few continued filming, sensing this moment would explode online the moment they uploaded it. But deep down, everyone shared the same fear. If Seagal decided to respond, the general wouldn't stand a chance. Branson stepped even closer, his voice dropping to a cold murmur only Seagal could hear. "You gonna defend yourself, or are you just going to stand there, huh? Show these boys what you really are." Seagal's jaw tensed, just slightly, barely noticeable unless you were staring at him. His hands remained loose at his sides, but the soldiers watching sensed something shifting. A faint pressure in the air, a quiet edge slipping into the atmosphere. Seagal spoke softly. "Let go before something happens that you will regret." but the general misinterpreted the warning as weakness. With a sudden jerk, he tried to shove Seagal backward by the hair, a move meant to humiliate him in front of everyone. Seagal didn't budge. It was like trying to push a mountain. The soldiers gasped. A few couldn't help whispering, "Did you see that? He didn't even move." General's starting to look stupid. The general's face reddened with embarrassment. His grip tightened even more. "You think you're better than me?" he snapped. "You think you're some kind of untouchable legend?" Seagal lowered his voice even further. "I think you're having a bad day, sir. That's what I think." The calmness in his tone only made Branson angrier. "No, Seagal. I'm teaching you a lesson." He let go of Seagal's hair only to shove him in the chest hard. Seagal slid half a step back, not because of the force but because he allowed it. His eyes stayed locked on the general, steady and unbroken. The entire formation instinctively stepped back, creating space between the two men. The tension felt physical now, thick, suffocating, electric. A young private whispered, "He's gonna snap." "Seagal's gonna end him." Another shook his head, "No, he's controlling himself." "That's even scarier." Branson shouted to the crowd again. "Look at him. He's not even man enough to defend himself." Seagal finally lifted his chin slightly, the faintest sign of resolve appearing in his eyes. "This is a demonstration day, General. Not a fight. I came here to teach, not hurt anyone." "Hurt anyone?" Branson barked, laughing mockingly. "Try and hurt me, go on. Show me something real." Seagal inhaled deeply, his expression changing. Not into anger, not into aggression, but into something colder, something focused. His stance shifted half an inch, but the soldiers felt it like a thunderclap. A murmur rippled across the field. They all knew it. When Steven Seagal changed his stance even slightly, things were about to get real. Branson didn't notice. He pushed Seagal again, harder, almost desperate now. "You gonna fight back or what?" Seagal tilted his head. "I don't fight out of ego. I react out of necessity." That line sent chills down the backs of the soldiers watching. Even those who doubted Seagal before were now silent, glued to every movement. The general leaned in again, so close their noses almost touched. "I don't believe you're capable of reacting," he hissed, and that was the final mistake. A silence heavier than the blazing sun fell over the base. Seagal exhaled once, slow, controlled, almost meditative. The soldiers didn't know it yet, but the moment was seconds away from exploding. And none of them were prepared for what was about to happen next. Have you ever seen someone stay this calm while being disrespected?
Tell me yes or no in the comments, and then also drop your country and city.
I love hearing where everyone is watching from. The air over Falcon Ridge Base felt heavier than ever, thick with adrenaline and disbelief. The soldiers stood in a wide circle now, forming an unspoken arena around Steven Seagal and General Branson. No one dared move. No one dared speak. Even the wind seemed to pause, as if waiting for what would happen next. Branson's last words, "I don't believe you're capable of reacting," hung in the air like a direct slap to Seagal's honor. Seagal slowly raised his eyes to meet the general's. His face stayed calm. But there was something new behind the eyes now. Something sharp. Something ancient. Something dangerous. It wasn't anger. It was focus. A few soldiers felt it instantly, a chill that slithered down their spines. Private Collins whispered under his breath, "He's going to move. I can feel it." Sergeant Lane shook his head slowly. "If he moves, the general won't survive it." But Branson either didn't hear them or didn't care. His pride had swallowed him whole. He puffed his chest, fists clenched, and took another step forward. "You think your calm face scares me?" he snapped. "You think staying silent makes you tough?" Seagal didn't blink. "It's not about fear. It's about restraint, sir." Branson scoffed loudly, turning to the crowd again. "You hear that? Restraint. That's what Hollywood calls being afraid." The soldiers murmured anxiously. Some eyes shifted away, unable to watch the humiliation. Others recorded nervously, hands trembling. The disrespect was becoming unbearable. Branson shoved Seagal in the shoulder, and hard. Seagal moved half an inch, nothing more. His body absorbed the push like a tree trunk absorbing wind. Slowly, he rolled his shoulder back into position. The general shoved him again, and again. each push more forceful, more emotional, more desperate than the last. "Fight back," Branson roared. "Show them who you are." Seagal's voice finally broke the silence. "I don't hit unprovoked. And I don't stop until I get a reaction," Branson snarled. Then he made his worst move yet. He grabbed Seagal by the collar, yanking him close, so close their breath mixed. The soldiers gasped in unison. Even those who doubted Steven Seagal felt a sense of dread crash over them. A colonel stepped forward as if to intervene, but another officer grabbed his arm. "Wait," he whispered. This is Seagal we're talking about. He knows what he's doing." But even he didn't sound fully convinced. Branson twisted Seagal's collar tighter, his face only inches away. "You're not leaving this mat until you prove something," he hissed. Seagal's voice dropped to a whisper, steady, icy, controlled. "I don't want to hurt you. You won't." Branson pulled his fist back. This time the soldiers reacted violently. "Sir, no." "General, stop! Don't do this!" Even the toughest men in the unit felt their stomachs twist. No matter what anyone thought of Seagal, actor, martial artist, celebrity, everyone knew he was trained. And when a trained fighter warns you twice, you listen, but the general didn't. He swung, not a slap, not a shove. A full punch aimed squarely at Seagal's face. Time slowed. Seagal didn't step back. He didn't duck. He didn't even raise his hands. He simply watched. At the very last millisecond, just as the fist was about to connect, Steven Seagal shifted his weight. Barely, subtly, a movement so slight it was almost invisible. The punch missed him by a hair, slicing through air instead of bone. The momentum threw the general off balance. His eyes widened, confused. How did he miss at point-blank range? Seagal whispered, "You should stop." But Branson, fueled by humiliation and ego, roared and swung again, harder, faster, wilder. Each punch missed. Not because Seagal retreated, but because Seagal moved with microscopic, precise angles, the way only someone who has mastered his art could. Soldiers watched with open mouths. What is he doing? He's not even retaliating. He's just letting the general exhaust himself. Branson growled in frustration, sweat forming at his temples.
"Stand still and fight."
Seagal looked at him calmly. "I am standing still, sir." That line hit the base like thunder. The general's swings became sloppy, desperate. His breath grew ragged. His face turned red with exhaustion and rage. Yet Seagal still hadn't raised a single hand. Just as Seagal warned, the general was about to regret everything, because one more reckless move, one more dangerous attempt, one more line crossed, and Steven Seagal would have no choice but to react. And when a man like Seagal reacts, no force on that base could stop what would follow. If you were standing there, watching all this, would you step in or let Steven Seagal handle it? Tell me in the comments. General Branson's breaths were now ragged and uneven, each one harsher than the last. Sweat dripped down his forehead, trailing a shaky line along his jaw. His fists trembled, not from fear, but from the exhaustion of repeatedly striking nothing but air. Because Steven Seagal hadn't just avoided the hits. He had erased them from reality. Every punch that should have landed didn't. Every strike meant to embarrass him missed by a fraction. Every attempt to assert dominance dissolved before it even began. To the soldiers watching, it didn't feel like a fight. It felt like witnessing a man punch smoke. Private Collins whispered, "This isn't normal. He's not dodging, he's predicting." Sergeant Lane nodded slowly, eyes wide. "This is mastery. Pure, terrifying mastery." General Branson, dizzy with humiliation, sucked in a harsh breath. "You think you're better than me?" He spat, wiping sweat from his face. Seagal's answer was almost disappointing in its calmness. "No. I think you're tired." That sentence cracked something inside the general. With a furious roar, he lunged, not with a punch this time, but with both arms outstretched, trying to wrap Seagal into a tackle. It was a reckless, dangerous move, one fueled by ego instead of strategy. Soldiers flinched. Some stepped back. Others shouted warnings. "General, stop." "Sir, that's enough. Don't do it." But Branson had crossed the point of no return. He launched forward, intending to take Seagal to the ground, and that is when Steven Seagal finally reacted. Not aggressively. Not violently. not with the fury that many expected, but with precision. Seagal shifted his right foot half an inch backward, turned his hips, and redirected the general's weight with a single, fluid motion. No struggle, no resistance, it was effortless. Branson's momentum betrayed him. His body turned sideways, his balance ripped from under him. His arms spiraled uncontrollably, until he slammed onto the mat with a loud, echoing thud that shook the entire training hall. Gasps exploded through the crowd. Oh my God, did you see that? He barely touched him. That was insane, but Seagal wasn't done. The general, stunned and winded, attempted to rise. Instinctively, he reached for Steven's leg in a desperate attempt to regain control. It was the kind of move a man makes when he refuses to accept defeat. Seagal stepped aside calmly, then placed one hand on the general's shoulder. Not to strike, not to pin, to stop him. "Sir," Seagal said quietly, "don't get up." But Branson, stubborn, prideful, burning with embarrassment, pushed himself up anyway, teeth gritted. "Don't you tell me what to do." He lunged again, grabbing Seagal's wrist. The moment his fingers closed around it, the fight ended. Seagal twisted his hand in a subtle surgical motion, Aikido wrist control, and the general's knees buckled instantly. A shock of pain shot up Branson's arm, forcing his other hand to the floor. He gasped, his face twisted, his body folded. Seagal applied just enough pressure to immobilize, not injure. The general couldn't move, couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Every soldier watching went silent, even the air stopped. This wasn't an attack. It wasn't a beatdown. It was the quiet, controlled dominance of a man who had restrained himself for far too long. Seagal leaned down slightly, his voice low enough for the general alone to hear. "I warned you twice." Branson's face flushed with pain and shame. "Let go," he choked. Seagal didn't. Not yet. His eyes hardened just for a moment. "You disrespected me. You disrespected your men, and you nearly forced me to hurt you." Branson winced, unable to respond. Seagal continued, "This isn't a movie. This is real, and people don't bounce back from real." The general's eyes finally softened. His resistance melted into acceptance. Only then, when the message was understood, did Seagal release him. Branson collapsed onto the mat, clutching his wrist, gasping for air. Not broken, not injured, just humbled. The soldiers stood in stunned silence before the room erupted into whispers. He controlled him like a child. That was unreal. I've never seen the general lose. And he didn't even hit him once. Seagal stepped back, hands at his sides, breathing steady as ever. He bowed his head slightly toward the general. "Respect goes both ways, sir." The general stared up at him, shame flickering across his face. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Not yet. For the first time since the confrontation began, the base wasn't looking at the general anymore. They were looking at Steven Seagal, the calm warrior, the man who warned twice, the man who never attacked but still won. And deep down, everyone knew this wasn't the end. Something bigger was coming, something that would shake the entire base. What would you do if you were the general? Apologize or go for round 2? Tell me in the comments. The room was still vibrating from what had just happened. Soldiers whispered in clusters, still trying to process how Steven Seagal had neutralized their commanding officer without throwing a single punch. Some were stunned. Some were impressed. Many were afraid, not of Seagal, but of what the general might do next. General Branson pushed himself to his feet, breathing hard, humiliated beyond measure. His uniform was wrinkled, hair disheveled, pride shattered. For a man who ruled his base with iron discipline, the fall wasn't just physical. It was personal. He brushed the dust off his sleeves, his jaw clenched so tight a vein bulged on the side of his neck. "Everyone, back to your positions," he barked, but nobody moved. The soldiers weren't defying him, they were frozen. Nobody wanted to turn away from the tension building between the general and the martial arts master, who had just humbled him. Seagal stood still, hands at his sides, face calm as a monk. Not gloating, not intimidating, not even triumphant, just present, watching, waiting. The general took one shaky step toward him. "You made a fool out of me in front of my men," he said through gritted teeth. Seagal didn't respond. His silence was louder than any insult could have been. "You think this is over?" Branson growled. A low murmur rippled through the soldiers. Private Collins whispered, "Sir, please don't push him again." Sergeant Lane added under his breath, "The man just saved you from yourself." But the general wasn't listening to anyone, not his men, not reason, not even his own shaking hands. He pointed a finger at Seagal. "I want a real demonstration," he demanded. "No tricks. No dodging like some circus show. A real fight." Seagal slowly blinked, a long, patient blink, like a teacher dealing with a stubborn child. Then he spoke. "Sir, I am not here to fight you." "That wasn't a request," the general snapped. "Then you're making a mistake," Seagal replied softly. The general's chest rose and fell with anger. "Show me what you really are." Seagal glanced around the room. Every soldier watched with wide, burning eyes. This wasn't just a demonstration anymore. It was a dangerous moment spiraling out of control. "General," Seagal said, "what I do is meant to protect, not inflate pride. You're already injured. Your wrist is strained. Your breathing is heavy. You need to stop." "You don't tell me what I need," Branson snarled. He stepped in, close enough for Seagal to smell the adrenaline pouring off him. "Hit me," Branson whispered. "If you're a real martial artist, hit me." Seagal frowned slightly. "What you're asking me to do isn't honorable." The general's voice cracked with rage. "Hit me." Seagal didn't move. The soldiers held their breath, and then Branson made the worst decision of his military career. He threw a sudden, explosive punch aimed directly at Seagal's temple. A punch that, if it landed, could have caused real damage. The soldiers gasped. Seagal acted, not with violence, not with fury, with control. He stepped inside the punch, catching the general's forearm mid-strike. His other hand slid underneath Branson's elbow. A pivot, a twist, and the general was spun around, locked in a joint hold before he even understood what had happened. The crowd erupted in shock. How is he doing that? He's controlling him like a puppet. That's insane, he's too fast. Branson tried to yank free, but his own body refused. Every movement only deepened the pressure. Seagal leaned close to his ear. "This ends now," he said quietly. "Walk away before you embarrass yourself further." But the general was too far gone. "No," he growled. "Finish it." Seagal hesitated. He didn't want to hurt him, but Branson shoved backward, putting his full weight into breaking free, and that's when Seagal made the only safe decision left. He dropped his center of gravity, swept the general's legs with a controlled motion, and guided him down flat on the mat with a thundering slam. This time the room didn't gasp. It exploded. "Oh, he's done. The general can't take another hit. Call medical." But Seagal immediately released him and stepped back with his palms open. "No more," he said firmly. The general rolled onto his back, wheezing, defeated both physically and emotionally. A heavy silence fell over the room. Seagal looked at him not with triumph, but with disappointment. "You're a leader," he said softly. "Your men look up to you. Lead with strength, not ego." Every soldier felt those words. Branson's eyes filled with a mixture of anger, shame, and something he hadn't felt in years: humility. But before he could respond, the hangar doors burst open, and what happened next would change the entire story. The massive steel hangar doors slammed open with a metallic crash, echoing across the training hall. Every soldier snapped their head toward the entrance. 3 high-ranking officers stormed inside: Colonel Reeves, Major Holt, and Captain Diaz, faces tight, steps fast, energy electric. Behind them followed a squad of MPs, their uniforms immaculate, their movements precise. General Branson froze on the mat, still struggling to catch his breath. His pride, his uniform, and his authority were all wrinkled, battered, and trembling. Colonel Reeves surveyed the scene with sharp, hawk-like eyes. He narrowed his gaze on Branson sprawled on the floor, then at Steven Seagal standing calm and composed, hands relaxed at his sides. "General Branson," Reeves said, voice like steel snapping. "What on earth is happening here?" Branson stumbled to his feet, refusing help from the MPs. He straightened his uniform, wincing from the pain in his wrist, and pointed angrily at Seagal. "This civilian attacked me," he barked. A wave of disbelief swept the room. Soldiers exchanged looks. Some even shook their heads. Collins muttered, "That's not what happened at all." Reeves turned to Seagal, noticing his perfectly calm breathing, his steady eyes, his unshaken posture. Then he turned back to Branson. "Attacked you?" Reeves repeated slowly. "General, you looked like you went through a meat grinder alone." Branson's face burned. He assaulted me during the demonstration." The general stammered. Major Holt stepped forward. "Sir, we received multiple calls from soldiers reporting that you initiated aggression." Branson froze. Captain Diaz added, "We also have over 40 videos recorded of the incident. All of them were uploaded to the internal network within minutes." The color drained from Branson's face. Soldiers shifted nervously. They had tried to warn him. Now the truth was catching up fast. Colonel Reeves looked at the crowd. Everyone who recorded the event stepped forward. Dozens of soldiers stepped out of formation, phones in hand. Branson's jaw dropped. You all recorded me?" Sergeant Lane answered firmly. "Sir, with respect, we recorded the truth." A hush fell. The general was alone now. No rank, no authority, no intimidation could save him. Reeves turned to Seagal. "Mr. Seagal, is this accurate? Did the general initiate the physical altercation?" Seagal bowed his head slightly. "I came to teach," he said calmly. "Not to fight." Reeves waited. Seagal continued, "He grabbed me first. He attacked first. He insisted on escalating. I defended myself and ensured no one was harmed." Reeves studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "I believe you," Branson snapped. "You believe him over me?" Reeves answered without hesitation. "Yes, because he is calm, uninjured, and collected. And you are not." The room tensed. Branson took a shaky step forward. "You're siding with a movie star." Reeves cut him off. "Steven Seagal is not just a movie star." Every soldier in the hangar perked up. Reeves continued, voice rising. "He is a recognized martial arts master. He has trained law enforcement, military units, special forces around the world. He holds black belts in multiple disciplines. He has served as a consultant for elite units." Branson stared, stunned. "And you," Reeves added, "decided to challenge him like a bar brawler." The general swallowed hard. Reeves turned to Seagal. "Sir, we deeply apologize for your experience. This base invited you as an honored guest and instructor." Seagal inclined his head, accepting the apology with grace. Branson, however, was collapsing inward. His eyes darted around, searching for loyalty among the soldiers who once feared him, but they looked away. Respect is fragile, and he had shattered. His MPs approached quietly. "General Branson," Reeves said, "you're being relieved of command pending investigation for misconduct, abuse of authority, and endangering personnel." The room erupted, not loudly, but with whispers of disbelief. Branson's face twisted.
You can't do this.
"I'm the general. This is my base." Reeves stepped aside. "No, this base belongs to the United States Armed Forces. And today, you failed them." Two MPs gently took hold of Branson's arms. For the first time in his career, Branson looked small, powerless. He turned to Seagal. "This is your fault," he hissed. Seagal looked at him with calm pity. "No, General. This was your choice." Branson was escorted out slowly, shame trailing behind him like a shadow. The hangar was silent. Then Colonel Reeves faced the soldiers. "Let this be a lesson," he said. "Strength isn't measured by rank or fists. It is measured by discipline, respect, and humility." He turned toward Seagal. "Sir, if you are willing, the base would still like you to continue the demonstration." The entire hall waited for Seagal's answer. He looked around at the soldiers, the ones who stood up for truth, the ones who witnessed the fall of arrogance, the ones who now looked at him with pure admiration. Seagal smiled faintly. "Of course," he said. "Let's begin." The hangar erupted into applause, cheers, and relief, but none louder. Then the silence left behind by a fallen general. The footage from Falcon Ridge military base spread like wildfire. Within hours, every social media platform was buzzing with videos and clips of Steven Seagal, calmly disarming, redirecting, and ultimately humbling General Branson. Soldiers' reactions, whispers of awe, and Seagal's quiet dominance became the talk of the internet. "Did you see this?" A soldier in a distant state messaged his friend. "No way, the general got taken down by Steven Seagal. I can't believe he didn't even fight back aggressively. That was insane." News outlets caught wind of the event almost immediately. Headlines screamed, "Martial arts legend humiliates general in stunning base demonstration." Steven Seagal shows how discipline beats ego. Hollywood star silences military base with calm power. The video went viral globally, racking up millions of views in hours. Memes popped up overnight. GIFs of the precise wrist twist, the controlled throw, and the general's shocked face circulated endlessly. Comments poured in from viewers in New York, London, Manila, Sydney, Lagos. People from every corner of the world were drawn to the story. Everyone was talking about restraint, respect, and the power of staying calm under pressure. Meanwhile, back at Falcon Ridge, the base was still buzzing. Soldiers replayed the clips, analyzed Seagal's movements, and debated the lessons he had taught, not just about martial arts, but about leadership. Colonel Reeves addressed the base in the aftermath. "Today, we witnessed something far more important than a demonstration. We saw humility, mastery, and self-control. Remember this: respect is earned, not demanded." Seagal, as always, remained humble. He didn't boast. He didn't gloat. After the chaos, he gathered the soldiers around and spoke. Strength isn't about punching harder, throwing faster, or dominating someone physically. True strength is measured by restraint, by patience, by controlling yourself even when others push you to act recklessly. The soldiers listened intently. Some wiped sweat from their brows. Others shook their heads in disbelief. They understood that this was not just a martial arts lesson, it was a life lesson. Even the general, now facing investigation, had to admit privately that he had underestimated Seagal. He had let ego, pride, and impatience make him look foolish. And he had learned, painfully, that respect is not optional, it is essential. Online, the story continued to spread. Social media users shared their own experiences of dealing with disrespect, challenging authority, or handling tense situations. People drew inspiration from Seagal's calm, measured approach and the lesson that true power is silent but undeniable. Within a few days, major news outlets had featured the story internationally. The general public applauded Seagal's composure, his discipline, and his unwavering integrity. Millions wrote comments like, "This is how real strength looks. Respect isn't about fear, it's about control." Everyone needs to watch this. Incredible. The base itself became famous overnight. Military analysts, martial artists, and civilians alike discussed the incident, debating every angle of the confrontation. And for Seagal, it wasn't about fame. It was about demonstrating a simple truth. Humility, discipline, and integrity matter more than brute force or rank. As he left Falcon Ridge, soldiers lined up to shake his hand, patting him on the back, expressing admiration and gratitude. Cameras flashed, phones buzzed, and the internet continued to explode with the story. Before stepping onto his vehicle, Seagal looked back at the hangar, the base, and the men and women who had witnessed the lesson firsthand. With a calm smile, he said softly, "Remember, strength without respect is meaningless." If you believe respect and integrity are stronger than ego, type honor in the comments. Share this story to inspire someone today, and subscribe for more incredible real-life moments like this one.